like I'll call it. You know, I was thinking about some of the paradoxes in the program, and one came to my mind a long time ago. It said there's no solution, there's no middle of the road solution, but the only solution is you got to stay in the middle of the road. And to tie that into what was just shared, and I totally agree, thinking it through is not the solution, but the only solution is to be able to think it through, and I'll explain. Because the book makes very clear when it describes that I had lost the power of choice. It talks about for reasons yet obscure. This is on 24. It talks about for reasons yet obscure, I can't bring into my consciousness with sufficient force the pain and humiliation of a week or a month ago I'm without defense. Which doesn't say that I don't bring it into my mind. It says it's just not sufficient. And then in another place it talks about the truth about what I used to be like. It says, once again, we have no effective mental defense. It doesn't say we don't have a mental defense. It's just not effective. So the point is, how do I get an effective mental defense, and how do I bring it into my consciousness with sufficient force to keep me from doing it? Because that's the key of it all. Because without that, I'm going to drink every time. But if I don't think about it sufficiently and effectively, it's not going to happen. And then that's where God comes in. That's where me being clear about my condition comes in. You know, on the next page of where she read on the topic, in 32, where it talks about the 25-year slipper man in a bottle. On the next page, in 33, it talks about most of us in here. It says to be gravely affected, one does not have to drink the quantities or go down as far as some of us have. Meaning, you can get off the elevator, buddy. You don't have to live under a bridge with a brown paper bag. You don't have to do all this stuff that you say, well, man, I'm hearing these stories. I hadn't done all that shit. Been in ICU. In the last couple of years, people actually died, or I did time, or all these things that I used to say, well, I'm obviously not one of these people because I haven't done all that shit. That page makes clear. Hey, and the reason for the program, if you read the beginning of the 12 and 12, it said the reason we came up with this is to raise the bottom so people can save themselves the last 10 or 15 years of hard drinking. So, you know, when I look at those stories in the big book, there was one in there that was like something we've already talked about. Not a cloud on the horizon. It was the end of a perfect day. We're talking about Fred, the accountant now, right? All the business went off great. It was a perfect day. And then the thought came into my mind, I need to go up in there and have a couple of highballs before dinner. And he ended up with a taxi cab driver instead of his wife, and he was on a spree. But all the relapses I've ever heard mostly are like Jim, right? The dude, the whiskey and milk. He said, I thought I was being none too smart. Right? I mean, that means he had a thought that this is fucking stupid. But then he convinced himself he could put it in milk and he'd be cool. After all, he had a full stomach. Okay, now what that is what those pages were talking about. He had a mental defense. It was absolutely not sufficient. And it was not effective. But the mental defense was there. So what happens with this program is when I stay in touch with the program and I hear story after story after story after people who have gotten away from it and they fell victim to this lie, it's because that mental defense becomes weaker. It stays stronger and sufficient and effective when I stay close to the program and do what I need to do on a daily basis. And it's no wonder that it ended up like what the topic was talking about. I thought through the shit, and I didn't do the shit. So yes, the solution, if you came in here and somebody said to you on your first day, well, the only solution is to just say no and think it through. That's bullshit. Okay, we all know that's bullshit. You got to work some fucking steps to get there, right? Just like on 84 and 85 when it describes the position of neutrality. Yeah, that sounds good on your first day, but you got to work the steps to get there, right? So just like if somebody told you just think it through your first day, that's bullshit solution. But what's funny and paradoxical about it and ironical about it is after you work the steps, that is the only solution. Is thinking through it. Because without the effective and sufficient mental defense that God and these steps give me, I'm going to go back every single time because I'm going to make myself believe a lie and I'm not going to look at the truth. See, because I can no longer get drunk on the truth. Because the truth is, once I take one, phenomenon of craving sets in. I can't predict with certainty where the spree is going to end. But this program doesn't deal with the crazy, insane things I do once I start drinking. It deals with the mental state preceding the first one. That's what it says on 37 is the crux of my problem. Not what I do once I start. It's the mental state before I go insane and take the first one, when I believe the lie that I can do it again without harm. Well, see, I don't believe that lie today. And in that non-believing of that lie, I am sane. God has restored my sanity. There's no debate about what sanity is in this program. We could talk about, it's ADHD and all these insane things that psychiatrists will put labels. Well, there's only one insanity here. You either believe the lie that I can do it without harm and I'm insane, or I don't believe the lie that I can do it without harm and I have been restored to sanity. So today, I'm absolutely sane. Today, in a moment of temptation, it's like what the topic leader was saying. A great revulsion rises up. I think through it and say, hold on a minute, that's a fucking dumbass idea. I'm stepping, I'm outie. As we should do. We can go anywhere, like it says on 101. Normal people can go if I have a good reason, but I got the good common sense to get the fuck out of there if shit gets too high. Because I'm not an idiot. Because God gave me a brain to use. Because I got common sense. Because I worked the steps don't mean I need to go back in the crack house just to see how my fucking buddies are doing. That's pure stupidity. But I see people doing dumb shit like that. And if I don't stay close to the program, I won't hear about them people sharing that they did dumb shit like that and how the story ended up. See? So that's why I wanted to wrap that all the way around to the beginning about the paradox. Thinking through it is not a solution, but the only solution is thinking it through. I'll pass.